What if I told you that Gargua are almost as strong as a Glavenus?
Who opens a conversation like that? What the crap are you on about?
No, really, I'm serious.
It's just factually false.
Well, in Monster Hunter, maybe.
What else matters?
Well, what about Teppen?
Oh, no. Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages,
We've had a little chat recently about Teppen, Capcom's digital card game full of all of their different IPs, and specifically how it relates to Monster Hunter in a number of interesting and cool ways. And of course, as if in response to that video, a new expansion released just last week for Teppen, and it was focused heavily around Sunbreak. Specifically, it adds the Three Lords of Sunbreak, a specific title attributed to three of the new monsters that embody a specific design: a werewolf, Frankenstein's monster mixed with a golem, and of course a vampire king. These monsters were emblematic of Sunbreak's general design philosophy, as Rise had focused a lot on yokai, which are Japanese folklore and mythological demons and beasts. Sunbreak instead tried to focus on more Western fantasy demons and beasts. The fun part of this, as far as Teppen goes, is that this expansion is called Demon Dogfight, and not only does it add the Three Lords of Sunbreak, but in a specific way, teaming them up with the three nobles of the Makai realm, which are demon characters from the Darkstalkers series. Morrigan Ainsland, the succubus, teaming up with Lunagaron, which is extremely fitting as she is known to have a partnership with the werewolves of that realm. Dmitry Maximoff, the vampire lord, teaming up with Malzeno, the vampire lord, and then Jeddah Doma, who is more or less just a supernatural being, quoted as having similarities with the Grim Reaper, teaming up with the beastly brute that is Garangolm. The trailer is really neat to actually watch. I really enjoy the art style of Teppen's trailers. It's really unique and it looks really nice at the same time. The expansion itself is relatively small, only a few cards within it, and so of course it won't be the main focus of this video. We can't talk the whole time about just that, but given all the Monster Hunter cards that we still have left to talk about in Teppen, I thought this expansion was a great reason to continue. Mostly I just want to have a look at the expansion cards that are here now, and then also all the different cards from Monster Hunter, how they've interpreted some of those in card art is sometimes it's just absolutely gorgeous, and talk about any interesting effects or such that they've attributed to these cards as well. For example, here's Castle on the Run. This of course is a representation of Adel Nesset, the big mech created by Adel Ka in their fight. That is just one of the craziest and silliest yet also coolest moments in a final boss fight in the series. The card art is really cool, but I specifically chose this card because of its effect. It buffs friendly units and gives your hero a shield that blocks one instance of damage. Essentially, this is actually just a really good representation of how it works within the actual Monster Hunter games, and I wanted to praise that a little bit. Basically, your hero is the Adel Ka in this situation, protected from damage due to the salvaged mechanical beast created around them. On top of that, there is of course an Adel Ka card itself, which interacts with the Castle on the Run card, moving it around within your deck and searching for it when it is hit by an attack to try and drag this card to the surface. Again, just like the fight itself. Another cool effect representation is Espinas, who has a couple of them. The first one is alright, just dealing damage to the enemy unit that's in front of it if it survives taking damage itself, but the cool one is a representation of Espinas' vast changes in speed throughout the fight. Espinas starts with the slow effect by default, which makes it essentially attack half as often as a creature without that effect. When it goes below 5 HP, it loses the slow effect and gains agility instead, which is essentially the opposite. This is a really cool way of bringing to life the way that Espinas starts sleeping and slow moving, but then picks up pace significantly as you fight it. It starts off with half the attack speed of an average card, but then as it takes damage, it moves all the way to having double the attack speed of an average card, and I really like that way of realizing Espinas in a card game format. After that, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up some really cool crab artwork with a neat effect. Here is Blade Shattering Defense, a play on Daimyo Hermitar's big old shield move where he sticks his claws in front of his face and just sits there protecting, waiting to counterattack. The artwork for this one is gorgeous in my opinion, and I love good crab artwork of course. Then the effect is that it gives 3 HP to a friendly unit, as well as giving them the shield effect to block 1 instance of damage, which is really cool as a way to realize this attack. We've got Kongolala, who just has some nice art of him chomping on a mushroom, and his effect is that after taking damage and surviving the attack, he deals 1 damage to the enemy unit in front of him, which is just a little bit representative of his big belly guard move. Then we've got Fugen, who is awesome to see as a card, so nice art as you would obviously expect. Honestly, pretty much all these cards look awesome in my personal opinion, and his effect is he does damage to a random enemy unit equal to half of your hero art points when he's played, which are a number that builds up over the course of a fight unless you spend them, so he interestingly works around the concept of saving your power for after he's played, sort of like using him as one of the rampage options in base Rise. Then let's just talk about some of the more interesting artwork that we've got on cards within the game. Here's Legend Eater, which is a Nergigante card that has him hovering above a freaking Elytra Latreon, of all things, but the implication of the name and the setup of this artwork sort of says that Nergi is about to try and eat a Latreon, and something about that just seems incredibly unlikely to me. That said, the artwork of Nergi just sort of hovering above looking down on a Latreon like it's a little snack in the middle of the night definitely makes me chuckle. Then let's have a look at Sneak Attack, and this card is awesome. It's a Volvidon mid-rolling, and I just absolutely love the artwork for this, the visual effect of momentum in a still image, the way that you can see exactly how Volvidon rolls up his body, and then just the unbelievably devious smile on Volvidon's face as he moves towards his target. I'm going to get them. I'm going to get... I love it. Volvidon is totally an unappreciated monster, and I have always thought that he was awesome, and this card work just makes me really happy to see. After that, let's talk about Gobule. Gobule hasn't been around for a while, but understandably, as he sort of has big ties to the concept of underwater combat, but here's an awesome bit of artwork of him diving up from under, looking like a legendarily terrifying prehistoric beastie, ready to tear apart ships sailing past. I never thought I would call Gobule intimidating, as normally he's just sort of silly, but this art here definitely gets across the concept of him being scary. Then we just have a silly one. This card is called Incidental Impalement, and it's just Monoblos fully impaling a Mega Man robot, and it just looks incredibly silly to me. The way that the robot looks genuinely sad about the situation that it somehow has been caught up within this, the electricity flying out of its body, and then Monoblos just looks almost apologetic to me, like, oh shit, sorry man, I didn't know you were there, I just needed to come up for air, I was suffocating under there in the desert. It's really funny, flat out. Here we have Ascent of Heaven's Wheel, a representation of Shagaru Magala's big flying up into the air moment, and the art here is just awesome. You can almost feel the roar happening with the effect being put on top of this, with the sort of vibration effect that the picture has, and of course the lighting and composition is great too, and it's really nice just to have a representation of a really major moment of a fight with a really major monster. Then there's the Shara Ishvalda card, and this image is just incredible. It is Shara mid-charging the big cannon beam, and you can see the ground in front reacting to the vibrations of it just being prepared to happen. It's just, the focus on this one is what really gets me. The amount of detail in every part of Shara's body, the tentacles, the head, the lighting is beautiful. It's just so beautifully done from head to toe, or head to claw. I don't know, but I really, really like it. Then we have Village Buddy Palamute, and this is just a really cool artwork of the Palamutes in Rise and Sunbreak. It is super detailed, a great action shot, and I love the way that it looks too. Then to round things out today, here is Sublime Mimicry, an absolutely incredible realization of Chameleos while he's invisible. Invisibility can be just such an incredibly hard thing to represent. Of course, if invisibility is perfect, there would be nothing there to represent, it would just be blank. But this representation of it is just so beautiful to me, like a crystalline structure of Chameleos, like he's made of ice, almost like an ice sculpture, but in reality he's just preparing to take someone totally off guard, entirely unable to be seen by them in the first place, and it's such a cool setup, such a cool framing, and it looks gorgeous. And that'll do it for today, everyone. There are still so many cards in Teppen from Monster Hunter, and they keep adding more all the time too, but these were the selections that I specifically wanted to talk about today. Some really cool effects and good representations of the way that they actually work in Monster Hunter 2, and some great artwork just across the board, every single one of them. I love the way they look. I hope you've enjoyed this little talk, and for any of you who actually play Teppen, let me know how the new Monster Hunter cards are in the Demon Dogfight expansion. I'm definitely interested. And of course, I have to wonder what other cards that they'll be adding from Sunbreak in the future now that they've opened that floodgate. I mean, this is only 3 monsters from Sunbreak, there's quite a few more, so we gotta see what's gonna happen in the future. Like if you like the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.